Hello, good morning. So welcome to this NERO cybersecurity training session. We'll wait a couple of minutes till everyone can connect and then we'll start. Okay. Welcome again for this NERO cybersecurity training session. We'll start in a couple of minutes. We are still waiting people that are connecting. Okay, I see that we are more than 27 participants now, 28. So maybe we can start. A lot of other people will join later. So welcome to this webinar and this training session. This is a training session in a series of three webinars. So this is the first one that we are having today. It's mainly three trainings that will be related to some cybersecurity awareness and defense foundation for SMEs. Then we'll have two other webinars, one on the 3rd of December, where we will have some more advanced training about advanced threat detection and privacy protection for SMEs. And then we'll have also a third webinar in the 19th of January next year about immersive and gamified cybersecurity practices for SMEs. These trainings are done in the context of the NERO project that started almost 2 years ago with the 16 partners from Europe. And in this project, we are designing some advanced cybersecurity awareness ecosystem focused on SMEs. And we are providing, let's say, training modules and training tools through a user-friendly marketplace that is available in our NERO website. We are demonstrating and validating this ecosystem through three use cases in the healthcare, finance, and transportation logistics sectors. And we are supporting SMEs by sharing knowledge and advanced training using European tools that follow security by design and privacy by design approaches. Today, we'll have three trainings that will be provided by three members of NERO project. The first one is Haralambos Klitis from project manager from EBOS. The second one is Davide Ariu, the co-founder and CEO of Pluribus One. And the last one will be provided by Dimitris Koutras, a computer science teacher in the University of Piraeus. Before we start the three trainings, I will give you some tips for today. First of all, you can see at the bottom of your screen a Q&A box where that you can use to submit your questions during the training. So we'll select some of them that will answer live, and other will be answered by the panelist in a written mode. So the speakers will reply during either the panel discussion or in a written form. The session will be recorded and will be shared on our NERO website and YouTube channel. The presentation slides will be available after the training session on the NERO website. And also there is two questionnaires to be filled by you if possible. So there is the one that you can see already, the QR code. This is the pre-questionnaire, so please try to answer it very quickly. It's only a kind of profiling for from your side. You can see also a link on the chat if you don't want to, let's say, use the QR code. You can click directly on the link in the chat to fill the pre-questionnaire. And of course, there will be another post-training questionnaire to be filled at the end of the training. As I told you in the beginning, we'll have in this first webinar three trainings. The first one will be related to the fundamentals of cybersecurity, and it will be provided by my colleague Haralambos Klitis from EBOS. The second one is related to cyber incident and incident risk handling fundamentals, when it will be provided by Davide Ariu from Pluribus One. And the third one is related to social engineering and will be provided by Dimitris Koutras from UPRC. I propose that we start the first module, and I will give the floor to Haralambos from EBOS for this first training.
Thank you, Wissam. Look at the screen. Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Paralambos Klitis. I'm an R&D Senior Project Manager in EBOS Technologies. And today I'm going to give you a quick presentation about the fundamental of cybersecurity. This is the first out of 9 modules prepared by the NERO project, and would be as an introductory module for the module to follow, with useful information and workings for you to keep for the remaining of this series of webinars. During this presentation, I'm going to give a quick introduction what is cybersecurity and why cybersecurity matters, give some key concepts about cybersecurity, showcase the cybersecurity directive and acts from the European Commission, show some common attack types that everyone expects to find in his life at some point, and some key points how to protect yourself. So, what is cybersecurity? Cybersecurity is the practice of protecting systems, networks, or digital programs from attacks that are trying to change or destroy information. In a sense, cybersecurity is the shield that protects our digital world from any outside attack that is trying to alter it. So this attack can come from hackers, from cyber criminals, even from state governments that have the motivation of financial gain or political disruption. In essence, cybersecurity ensures that our digital world includes computers, mobile devices, server cloud infrastructure remain available and always trustworthy. Why cybersecurity matters? Nowadays, the majority of us are using digital devices to access and do our online banking, healthcare system. Everybody has a computer in their hand in the form of mobile devices. This is quite convenient, but also create vulnerabilities. It's a weak point that it can fail. So cybersecurity is a helping hand for us that stop these attacks and these vulnerabilities and protect our digital world. But what happens when cybersecurity fails? Well, we have financial losses. We lose sensitive information, especially when we're talking about financial institutions and healthcare records. We have damage in our reputations. We can take years to build again. And even worse, some small companies and SMEs never recover. So, some key concepts that we need to have in mind when talking about cybersecurity, and this concept work around four areas: the SIA triad, about authentication, the defense in depth, and the human element. In no particular order, we have the SIA triad, which is about confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Confidentiality will always keep the data private and accessible only from authorized users. Integrity, ensure that the data is accurate and unopened. And availability, the data are always available when needed. Now, in the concept of defense in depth, we have the concept of risk and threat mitigation. Here we have the concept of threat, which is something that can cause harm to our systems. We have the vulnerability, that's a weakness that can be exploited to cause this threat. A risk, a potential damage that can cause and be exploited by the vulnerability. And the mitigation, the step that we take in order to reduce the risk for these vulnerabilities. Now, human factor. The human factor and the human element is probably the most important element when it comes to cybersecurity for small and medium enterprises. The reason is that majority of the attack and exploit take account the human error. Usually, we are going to from phishing attacks, we are using weak passwords, and we are the single point of failure when it comes to cybersecurity. So ongoing trends awareness is key to keep resilience of our infrastructure. Finally, moving to the authentication, the European Commission recently has introduced the zero trust concept. What that means, never trust. Always check and recheck what you are doing. Always verify the information I'm getting, is it correct? It's coming from the correct user. Always verify what I'm doing. And constant authentication. Authenticate the logins, always check who you are talking with, always check where you are sending the information. Having this information of zero trust in mind can secure our companies from the majority of the attacks. So why cybersecurity is important and what the EU is doing. So EU cybersecurity directives and acts are based in three pillars. This pillar is about the resilience, protection, and trust and cooperation. In order to ensure these three pillars, the European Commission have different directives and different acts for those ones. Those acts are the GDPR and General Protection Regulation, who came in effect in 2019, the EU Cybersecurity Act, the NIS2 Directive, the DORA, which is mostly focused on the financial institutions, the EU Cyber Resilience Act, and the EU Cyber Solidarity Act, which is still a proposal and should come in effect soon. However, these acts, directives, and acts are not laws. In order for this to be implemented, they need to be passed as law from individual parliaments. So while the EU has some directives, always check with your local authorities which of those ones have become law and follow them. For the purpose of this presentation, we have two of them which we need to look into details, the GDPR and the NIS2 directive. The GDPR, the General Data Protection Regulations, focuses on protecting the data of each EU citizen. While EU passes laws from inside the EU, the GDPR holds true for any data of EU citizens anywhere in the world. So any business that wants to work with EU needs to obey the GDPR regulation. So, and citizens have the right to control how their data are collected and used, which means that you can revoke the right for someone to use your data or how it uses it. And it poses very strict rules on how the data are handled and how the consents are done, and in case of breaches, what notification a user needs to get. So GDPR is a very powerful regulation that is used in the European Commission. And being in the digital age, we need to know what information we can share and how to be used. Then we have the NIS2 directive. This is the main EU law of cybersecurity. It requires both the public and the private organization to follow it and strengthen cybersecurity to report incidents. It applies to all sectors, mostly though critical sectors like transportation, financial, and the healthcare, but also applies to suppliers and service providers. Some key points that we need to keep in mind about the NIS2 directive. It includes a mandatory incident report within a limited time framework. We need to have risk management and supply chain security. So if I'm providing a service, I need to have a risk management in place, and enforces management accountability in cybersecurity failures. If we have a cybersecurity failure, the management is accountable for this failure. A part of the EU regulation, we have the cybersecurity standards, which is some standards that create rules and practices in order to standardize cybersecurity. It provides a structured way to ensure that a company is repeatable and manages security risk. They exist to define good security practices and what security looks like, ensure organizations follow and proven practices, support compliance and audits, and improve resilience against cyber threats. Some example is the ISO standard, 27001 and so on. But keep in mind that cybersecurity standards is just how we need to do something and ensures that we are following this practice in theory. It doesn't mean we are doing. Audits are done a few times a year, and they find out what compliance that time a few years. So keeping that in mind, standards are good, but they're not, they don't ensure cybersecurity. So now, so in that in mind, we need to know what we're up against. So some common attacks, cyber attacks are divided mostly in 4 distinct categories. Attacks that are against human, our network infrastructure, malware that go inside our systems, and some technical exploits that take technical infrastructure. The common attack can be phishing, fake emails, social engineering attacks the users and his profile, insider threat, attack coming from inside our organization, something that we don't expect. Ransomware, I'm holding information encrypted and you cannot access it if you don't pay. Viruses, I'm destroying some of your files or of your system. Trojans, I'm opening a backdoor to your systems. DDoS attacks is a name to break down the services you are offering. Man in the middle, probably you have seen that if you receive information that you know that you provided to an organization and you get it from someone else, it's intercepted your message and code disinformation. SQL injector, a more technical term about modifying databases in order to keep bad information. Zero-day exploit, something that is very important to understand because we are getting vulnerabilities that we don't know that we have, and malicious entities are taking advantage of it. And supply chain, instead of attacking you, it will attack some trusted vendor that you are trusting, and will get a backdoor access to you. Obviously, I'm not going to go into details in all these attacks, but just to see the most common ones that as SMEs and as users we need to have in mind is one of them is the phishing attack. People are trying to deceive you to offer them either your credential or financial information related to you. And this usually works from convincing you through email or messages that are legit. You are giving him your credential, login pages, or even your credit cards, where the attacker will get this information and use them. This can be in the form of emails, SMS, web pages, and so on. And usually it comes in the form of an unexpected request, something that you do not see it coming, but it can be from a legit user and usually has pure grammar or urgent language that it puts pressure on you to do it. A social engineering attack is coming in the form of knowing who you are going to attack, and you are shaping the attack for the specific user. So usually an attacker is researching his victim, and this is go through the social media that we are sharing information all the time and other methods, and it's gaining your trust as your CEO or someone that you know. It starts conversation with you in random ways, and after he gains your trust, it asks you for your information. This can be through phone calls, messages, emails, and it's still an unusual request. You believe you're talking with someone and you're getting a very unusual request from someone. So keep that in mind when you see something that you don't expect from a person, usually is not what we are talking. So go back to the zero trust and authenticate who are you talking with. Then insider threat from inside the organization. Actually, this is probably one of the most common attack SME will fall and has two vectors, two together. It's either a malicious attack, so someone from inside the organization is trying to steal information or sabotage the company, or it's negligent, something that we all of us have done, and we thought that nothing will happen. We ignored some of the cybersecurity rules, or reuse some of the passwords, and we fall victim of these attacks. So it's coming from legitimate accounts, so it's hard to detect, and it's misusing the privilege and the rights you have given to them. So you can identify them usually from abnormal data access, large downloads that is not related to their working environments, and they are misusing login passwords and so on. Finally, something that is relevant to 2025 is AI attacks. It's the future of cyber attacks. These attacks are automated and they are using AI or machine learning techniques in order to analyze the defense, generate realistic conduct, and adapt countermeasures faster than humans ever can imagine. And this is what makes them dangerous. They are fast. They are more targeted and more scalable attacks than ever before. It's something cybersecurity has never faced, and it's very hard to detect because AI can hide themselves from plain sight. And is more easy to exploit human trust and physiological. As mentioned before, while living in the digital era, all of our information is out there. AI can find them and can target individual people. how to protect ourselves in this era. We need to keep in mind that the most easy way to protect ourselves is three different things: password authentication, awareness and behavior, and device hygiene. Password authentication, always use strong password. Use 10, 12-digit password, multiple numbers, upper and lower letters, and other methods. Enable multi-factor authentication. And no, getting a message in your phone with a verification code is not a proper multi-factor authentication. Use a multi-factor authentication now. Or even better, use a manager app that handles your passwords and do not reuse the password you have. Get awareness in your behaviors. Learn to identify phishing attacks and any malicious attempt towards you. Do not use any USB in your device. Know where this device came from. Do not overshare information in the social media. It's an easy way for someone to attack you. And always lock screens when leaving a device. Insider threat is a fact and can happen. And device hygiene. Keep up device up to date. Your phone, your laptops. Make sure every cybersecurity update is installed. Do not use untrusted software, especially when you come to mobile devices. You have your normal app store and your backdoor app stores. Use trusted software. And enable automatic updates. Welcome to our laptops and Windows was installing some updates at the time, which create nonsense at the time, but it's quite important to keep all devices up to date for security. Obviously, this is not an exhaustive list, and this is personal protection. Our IT departments does a lot. This is the reason I have the dots at the end, and this is not limited. We have firewalls, we have other methods to protect ourselves. But this is a good start for you to protect ourselves and your companies, of course. Thank you, and I'm open for any questions you may have.
Thank you a lot, Haralambos, for this nice presentation, providing fundamentals about cybersecurity. So if someone in the audience have any question, you can write it down on the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. So we have a question from Philippine Dupier. So thank you. A practical question. What is the preference for a password manager?
I don't have a password manager to recommend. All of us need to find what is working best for us and what is working well based on our company's policies. We need to check with our IT of our company and check what is better for us. There is not a one solution fit all. So there is quite a lot of I'm not going to give any recommendation because it's not something I can give a recommendation. It's what it works better for me. Obviously, there is Microsoft, Apple, or Google, all of them have their own, but there are others that you don't know. Check with your IT department what fits better to their solution. That I would recommend.
Thank you, Haralambos. This is indeed one of the practical questions that a lot of SMEs in Europe have in terms of how to select the right tool for a specific cybersecurity task. And that's why you are building in NERO this marketplace with a lot of tools. The majority of them will be European tools. We are pushing in this marketplace more than 50 tools, including open source tools. So this is something also very important for SME to have open source and free software because they have in general also limited budget. And the idea is that we are now building a kind of, let's say, wizard that will support them to select the right solution and the right training according to their need. And this is something that will be available in the next version of the marketplace that is due for next February 26. Okay, I don't see any other question for your presentation. Thank you again, Haralambos, and I will go to the next presentation, the next training session that will be provided by Davide Ariu from Pluribus, and it will be related to incident handling for SMEs. So the floor is yours, Davide.
Thank you, Wissam. So if you see correctly my screen, I think I can start. And thanks everyone for joining the webinar. As anticipated before, this module will be about some basic concepts related with cyber incidents and incident handling fundamentals. Why we are addressing this topic in NERO? First, the incident response process is the process that allows companies and entities that are let's say are affected by a cyber attack to coordinate a response to the attack itself. So basically, it's a set of not only technical measures, but also, and more importantly, processes and actions that enable entities to detect, analyze, contain, eradicate, and finally to recover from cyber incidents. As you may easily imagine, the purpose also here is that of minimizing the risk and the impacts the incident may have on the business, and so to minimize the negative impacts on the activities of the company, but also to protect and preserve and minimize the impact on the assets that the company is managing, including the data, of course. And we are talking about this topic because incident response is a key topic in all the regulations and all the regulations that the Europe is pushing ahead in these years and has been pushing ahead in the past years, as Haralambos said before. One of these is, for instance, the Cybersecurity Act, which includes a specific part about mutual support among states and private entities, fostering and supporting sharing of information and providing support for preparedness and testing against cyber attacks. So the act is meant to, let's say, to build a European ecosystem which is stronger and more resilient and more capable to respond to cyber attacks. And of course, incident handling and incident management have a key roles in two key directives and regulations, like the NIS2. It is explicitly stated in Article 21 that companies and entities in the perimeter of the NIS2 directive shall implement incident handling measures. And as you may all remember, since next January, entities will have an obligation to notify relevant authorities, and this is, in my opinion, as a prerequisite, the fact that they are able to handle the incident, and so being able to spot the incident promptly and to react accordingly. And similarly, the Cyber Resilience Act, that just to remind it, is the regulation which is going to be applied to the producer and manufacturer of products with digital elements. So also it will apply to many cybersecurity products. Aims to prevent that vulnerable solutions and tools are put on the market. And in order to do so, one of the pillars of the CRA is that the vendors design and implement incident management and notification procedures. For instance, being able to spot promptly whether there is a vulnerable component in the solution and tool and equipment they are delivering to the market, and being able, in case such vulnerable component is identified, to react promptly, notifying the customers, providing updates, and deploying all the mitigation measures that may be necessary. And both the NIS2 Directive and the Cyber Resilience Act will have a practical impact since next January, because there are obligations in terms of notifications entering into force at the beginning of 2026. As we stated already, the incident response is a process, and it's not only about detecting whether my company is being targeted by a phishing attack, or if there is a ransomware running on any or my server. Is first and before about preparing to develop such capabilities. So there is a preparation phase, which is the first step in the incident response process, where we basically have to analyze the company, which are the assets, and then which are the attack categories that are more likely for the kind of assets and business that I'm as a company running. And preparing means in practice to know in advance who will be responsible to do what in the process of handling an incident, and the responsibility, the roles, the actions may change and shall be adapted, I will say, to the different attack categories that I, as a company, must be able to handle. So it's about having plans and being sure that almost whatever kind of attack happens to my company, I'm able to respond promptly. Of course, once everything has been planned and set, we enter in a second phase, which is the phases where the incident actually occurs. And so that's the phase where I should have deployed already all the solutions like anti-malware, anti-phishing, firewalls, web application firewalls, whatever may be needed to detect that something wrong is ongoing. So the aim here is twofold. On one hand, to be notified as soon as possible that the incident is occurring, and so having in place solutions that can ensure we have the maximum visibility of the threats that may impact my organization, and on the second hand, also to provide all the elements to investigate and analyze the incident in depth. This second aspect in particular is of utmost importance, because it's an enabler for the following phase, which is the one responsible to ensure containment, eradication, and recovery. I need to know and understand in details what is actually going on within my organization, because that will allow me to devise and to implement a strategy that, again, it should be already been defined in the preparation phase, that allows to mitigate the incident as much as possible, which means restore the normal business processes as soon as possible, to minimize the impact on the data, to minimize the negative impacts on the customers. For instance, if there is any customer or third party which is relying on my services. And finally, once let's say the attack has been stopped and the systems have been restored, there is a fundamental phase, which is the one where we should analyze the incident. So in the post-incident activity, we should reconsider all the plans, procedures, responsibility assignments that were made, and also, for instance, the solutions that were chosen during the preparation phase, to evaluate whether they have been actually successful, and if they have provided the right support to, let's say, to ensure the maximum mitigation possible of the incident. So there is a post-incident analysis that we should carry out, where after which we will be able to correct the plans, to integrate the solutions, to change for instance, the responsibilities or the communication workflow in the case they have not worked very well during the incident handling phase. So, based on this general description of the incident response process, I will spend the next 10 minutes to provide some insight on the kind of attack strategies and techniques that the attackers and the threat actors are using the most nowadays. I will just start from two plots from the threat landscape that ENISA recently published in October. And the first one is this, where we do see that there is tons of phishing emails, messages that are being sent around. Email still plays a crucial role, but it's not only about emails, because we do receive also fake SMS on the phone, fake WhatsApp messages, fake Telegram messages, fake messages on almost all the social media platforms we are used to. And there is also two aspects that play a fundamental role for the attacks. Three, I will say, which is vulnerabilities, botnets, and malicious applications. Let's start from the botnet. Large part of the attacks that are implemented nowadays are highly automated. So basically, attackers are relying on large infrastructure, which are made of compromised hosts mostly, that are used by the attacker to deliver their activities. An entry point for such activities are often represented by vulnerabilities. So, for instance, in the case of web applications, or they do represent an easy entry point for the attackers, since we have applications that are exposed publicly. And this is also the enabler to run malicious, maybe also the enabler to run malicious software in the compromised environment. So the different slices of the cake that we see in this diagram are, I would say, easily interconnected with each other, because each one of these, let's say, attack vectors in essence, may rely or relies on the others. And in essence, what attacker do by leveraging all the components before is to deliver threats on mobile application, on malicious web applications, and also attacks on the supply chain. So let's spend the next minutes to have a closer look to all these elements. And let's start with the botnets. So the botnets are, I would say, an evergreen for the modern attack strategies. Let's start from the assumption that the vast majority of the traffic nowadays is not generated by humans, but is generated by bots. And about more than 1/3 of the traffic is generated by malicious bots. So we have the bots account for over 1/3 of the global internet traffic. And such a massive infrastructure, which is within the availability of the attacker, is basically used by the attacker to deploy attacks on large scale. So targeting vulnerabilities and platforms that have millions of users, and basically implementing an industrial process. So attackers are continuously looking for vulnerabilities that may be found automatically, may be exploited automatically, and that may enable to reach a very, very large customer bases, because in that case, also with very small revenues per each successful attack, they will be able to gain significant amount of money. So how to respond? Of course, first one is to protect the assets we have, and reducing the possible attack surface and so the exposure. So, for instance, not to leave asset exposed on the internet if not strictly necessary, to do the proper hardening, to do the proper vulnerability management. And once we have done so, we need to have a strong detection. So to consider first the possible threats we may be more likely subject to, and to select carefully the solutions that are the best fit for my environment. As said before, in the case for regarding the question for the password manager, also here we have to consider that there is no one-fit-all solution. So it's of fundamental importance to make a strategic analysis in advance and see which may be the most critical attacks for my organization, and to prepare also selecting the solutions as much as possible against those attacks. And of course, many of the solutions help a lot also during the containment and eradication strategy. So, for instance, in this phase, we need first to isolate, for instance, the compromised machines, and then also to limit the possibility for the attackers to move around. For instance, resetting a credential, API keys, and secrets that maybe that attacker may have harvested. And so this is botnets. Second pillar of the threat actor attack campaigns is supply chain attacks. You know that the NIS2 directive has has put a lot of emphasis on the security of the supply chain. We had in the past week several prominent outages from top players in the internet ecosystems, and probably many of us have been impacted by those outages. And this is, if needed, the further proof of how much the modern ecosystem is interconnected. And this picture, in the picture in these slides, shows one of the many attacks that have been carried out in the last years, publishing malicious software in a public repository. So pushing people to download, for instance, fake libraries that have been named with a name closer to that of famous ones like jQuery or similar, and including in such fake libraries pieces of malicious code. This is one of the ways attackers are using the most to compromise the supply chains. That's not the only one, of course, because the supply chains also means, for instance, using third-party APIs, using third-party authentication, or whatever third-party service may be essential for my applications and systems to work. So how to respond here? There are, for instance, frameworks like the software component verification standard provided by OWASP, which drive organization to set all the possible measures able to minimize the risk on the supply chain. So it's a methodological framework, it's not a technology, that drives companies and organizations to implement all the mandatory checks to ensure securities of their internal security. Again, vulnerabilities affecting web applications and APIs. They are one of the pillars which is exploited the most by the threat actors nowadays. According to a recent statistics from the Italian Cybersecurity Agency, about 80% of the CWEs that have been exploited in the last months by attackers targeting Italian entities are kind of related with web-based vulnerabilities. And based on this, there are also market trends that are emerging. Just sharing here the SOC visibility triad, which is a model that was introduced 10 years ago, which identified the three fundamental solutions for the security operations centers and for the incident responders to ensure full visibility of what's going on within their customer infrastructure. And such solutions include endpoint detection and response, so the EDR, network detection and response, so the NDR, and the CM solution, so basically something which is able to manage the logs. And the relevance of the applications nowadays has become much more important, also based on such statistics, and such that the model has been recently extended, and the solutions able to provide application visibilities are being recommended and considered mandatory to ensure, let's say, full visibility of all the possible threats within organization. So the NERO project is supporting SMEs in this aspect as well, since we are including in the marketplace also solutions that cover the application visibility sector, so enabling application detection and response. And finally, and this topic too was already anticipated in the previous presentation, there is an emerging trend of attacks targeting the AI layer. So there is first and massively prompt injection against the LLMs. Prompt maybe the fact is that attackers are automating the process massively. The LLMs are of great help for them because they do provide attackers the capability to develop malicious payloads on large scale. This applies to messages, emails, but also to let's say to malicious prompts, because LLMs themselves are used to generate malicious prompts that are injected against other LLMs. Second aspect, which is second threat, which is applying to the AI layer, is property theft. So basically, LLMs and AI is targeted and is manipulated to extract proprietary information. So in principle, we should not be able to retrieve the information that the owner of the model has used to train to train it. And there are nevertheless malicious trends of malicious activity that allows the attacker to exfiltrate such information and eventually such intellectual property. And finally, attackers are also targeting the training phase. And so basically the goal here is not to exfiltrate information, not to, let's say, to inject a malicious prompt, but instead to compromise the optimal behavior of the model. So basically poisoning the training data enables the attackers to have as an outcome of the training process a model which is not as robust, not as safe, not as high quality as the trainer will the model to be. And to mitigate this, there is again a number of frameworks that are being developed within the OWASP community. For instance, the testing guide is a very nice project which is being, let's say, was launched a few months ago, and there is the first version 1 of the guide which is being released actually in these days, and basically provides guides regarding the possible tests we may use to test the AI layer in our infrastructure. And so I'm going to close with a few inputs regarding how to coordinate incident response in our companies. We need to have an incident response plan. So basically it's a set of policies, rules, procedures, communication flows that, as stated at the beginning of this session, must be devised in advance. We don't have time to decide what to do during an incident. Everything must be decided upfront, and incident response, the phase when the incident actually occurs, is all about execution. And so, for instance, this is the set of topics that we may be covered within an incident response plan: governance, incident classification and severity levels, containment strategies that, again, must be specific for the different attack categories maybe want to cover. So, for instance, for the attack categories that you mentioned during the presentation, we may have 4 different separated strategies. And of course, we should define also, to comply with the regulation, also the communication plan, escalation paths, and so on. As a final recommendation, a few open source tools you may consider to use in the incident response process. The Hive, for instance, is one solution that helps to manage the incident response flow. So basically to follow and to manage the whole procedure. Cortex is a subcomponent in the Hive ecosystem, which is more focused on gaining evidence and on automating the response process. For instance, applying defense measure on the software and hardware components we may have in the infrastructure. The MIS platform is a outstanding threat intelligence sharing project, and it's used worldwide. And you can, if you have proprietary information, either contribute to the project, but also to get feeds from that, which may be included to increase the detection and response capabilities in your organization. And finally, Velociraptor is an open source project which is about endpoint analysis and especially supports forensic activities once the incident has been, let's say, contained, and allows to gather all the evidence from the endpoints that may be necessary. So I think Wissam, I took more than, let's say, more than expected. So I do apologize. But of course, if there is any question, I will be really glad to take them.
Thank you a lot, David. It was very interesting, and thank you a lot for this nice training. So let's see if there is any question for you from the Q&A box. So I don't see any yet. Let me wait a little bit. Okay, so maybe the conclusion will be to maybe prepare a plan for this incident response and not indeed be in a rush when there is something happening. And this is the best practice that we can take as a conclusion for your presentation. Let me go now to the next one. Dimitris Koutras about social engineering. And I give you the floor, Dimitris, for the last training of this webinar.
So, hello everyone. Give me a second. Can you please check if you can see my screen? So, hello again. You know, I'm Dimitris Koutras. I'm from University of Piraeus. I'm a research and a teacher there. And let's start with a discussion concerning the social engineering. You know, you heard about that a hacker can steal my data, a hacker can go into my Instagram, Facebook account. Some of you are afraid of that. Some companies are afraid of, for people that work there, they're afraid of maybe someone steal credentials from another guy and all that stuff. You know, the biggest vulnerability into this global distributed system, I mean the internet, and all the system that is inside the internet, is the human error, the human mistake. And the hackers knows that, and they use it for the initial access, because the initial access is the most important into this part of actions that they want to do in order to go to penetrate into a system, exploit the system, and use it, and may use some backdoors in order to take some data from database and all those known attacks that you heard of. So, the social engineering that we'll discuss today, it is a combination of human error and errors that may the system have in order to help the attacker, the hacker, if you want to say that, to penetrate easily into the system. Okay. Now let's move on. So the definition of the social engineering is right there. Social engineering is the act of exploiting human behavior to breach security systems, gain unauthorized access, or collect confidential information, often without needing to exploit technical vulnerabilities. For example, maybe someone asks your password, you can give to the attacker the password. The attacker just can get into your account with your password. No scripts, no technical details, no some fancy programs, no some fancy operating systems, nothing. They just use your credential. Okay. So why it matters? We discussed about this previously. Most of the cyber attacks involve some form of social engineering, of course, because all the cyber attack use something for the initial access, and most of the times this stuff is the social engineering. Okay. Of course, about the human mistake is the weakest link in this chain, in this organization security chain. And the social engineering can bypass technical defenses by targeting trust, fear, urgency, and curiosity. And I will give my, as you can see there is another look about the psychological triggers used in social engineering. It is some stuff that the attackers can use in order to convince you to click into the wrong link. Okay, it is the authority. I'm your manager, please answer all the stuff. Is the urgency. You have 5 minutes to act or do this today. It is an urgent, etc., etc. Scarcity, last chance to claim this great amount of money or this gift from us and stuff like that. Social proof. All the other partners of you, all the other colleagues of you did that. Please do it as soon as possible. The fear, your account will be locked if you don't do that in this day, during this day. The familiarity, impersonating coworkers, of course, and the curiosity and the greed about a gift or a salary or some data that may be located inside the link that you have to click on, okay? Then, except from the social engineering, the social engineering is a technique that someone tries to through social media and through social applications to text you. For example, maybe you have some messages in Facebook or Instagram or I don't know, just like David said before, into Telegram and all that stuff. And they ask you for information. There is also some other techniques similar to social engineering. The most known technique of those is the phishing. The phishing with PH, not with F. Okay, the phishing normally goes among with emails, right? All of you into your mailboxes, you have some phishing emails. Some emails that goes to the junk sometimes, some emails that you see some fancy labels, fonts, red colors, please check this box or something like that. There is sometimes phishing emails, as you can see, spell phishing, whaling, clone phishing, business email compromise. About the spell phishing is personalized email targeting a specific person, is when we want. This is the case that is connected directly with the social engineering. For example, you go into the social, you learn about the life of someone, and then you send a specific email that targets this person. For example, maybe someone tries to hack me, so she can go to my social account to see if I ordered something, for example, 2 days ago, or if she have a video of me unboxing a new phone or a new PlayStation and something like that, he can maybe send me you have from your last order of this PlayStation, please, you have a discount to our next shopping online and stuff like that, and create a fancy and create a copy of an official page of the shop that I bought this PlayStation. You have all this information of the video that I uploaded in the social. So you say that, oh, you have a 10% account of this and stuff like that. Please click here to take the account. And you have a similar page to this. You have a mirror page. I click on this. I put my credentials inside. You take my credentials, and then you just uh, you just do a jump into the original page, and I didn't even know what's going on. Okay. This is a very common page. The whaling that targets C-level executives, the clone phishing. We discussed about this. Where it uses legitimate emails with alternate links. The clone phishing is we try to copy an official email and we'll try to send it in order to someone just to be confused. Okay, and the business email compromise, email spoofing, or hijacking to redirect funds on that. Okay, this is concerning the company. Someone says the mail and says that I'm your company and stuff like that. So there are some tools, and now to give more attention to those tools, we have some NERO tools concerning the phishing and the passwords. Those tools are great. They have great examples. You can do training through those tools. Okay. If we have time in the end, in the last 5 minutes, I will show you one or two of them because when the new version of NERO Marketplace will be ready, you can have access to those. Okay, they are great tools, believe me. But we'll return to those later. Now let's see some indicators. You see this example. This example is great. The last one is RN Microsoft. If you see that in your Outlook software, the font is too small, so you can see Microsoft. There are tricks like those that you cannot see them from the beginning. Okay, for example, someone can use this Microsoft and Facebook example. They have a 0 instead of 4. Maybe if you observe better the email, you can see it, but this is very hard to see it. Of course, there is another option. You can use a no, but not a Latin, a no from English, the English letter. You can use a no from the Greek alphabet. You know, I'm Greek, so if you replace the English O with a Greek O, it is the same, but it is a different letter. So here is also an issue. And of course, there are some attachments .html, .com, .lnq, .lnk. There are some attachments just like with these. It's not very common. You have to also observe that. And concerning the detection, I have some virus total is very low for that. URL scan.io, FaceTime. There are some programs that you can use. There are many programs if you want to detect the phishing. But just 3 of those there. Let's move on to the other one that is very famous. You know, in my social accounts, there are some short videos. Okay, in this short video, because I like some stuff concerning cybersecurity, now I follow two or three guys that they try to scam the scams. What is that? There is a lot of guys, especially from India, for example, or from Pakistan, that try to call you and to say to you that I'm from Microsoft, or please, if you want me to fix your bug into your computer, they do that. They just go to your computer, they fix your bug, and then they say to you, just please give me the money into this account, and they try to tell you to give them some of the passwords in order to give them their money because they fix your computer and they try to use some passwords and then they take your passwords and they take all of your money. But there's very interesting videos in social media those days that there are some former, not hackers, ethical hackers, that they scam the scammers. They found the scammers, they found their location, and then, of course, they call the police and the officers in order to say that in this location there are 3 or 4 scammers, and they try to scam people. Okay, and of course there is a lot of tricks for that. Maybe there are some tricks. Oh my God, my baby's crying, and they have a video of a crying baby on the background. Oh, my baby's crying. Please, I don't have my husband's password. What I can do? My husband is at work. He's traveling, and I want the money to buy this for this. Please give me. And they go to the banks, and they call the banks, and for the banks, and the bank can hear a baby's noise, crying in the background. They say, okay, maybe she's his wife. Let's give her the money or the password to take the money. Okay, this is also a case. Smishing is or smishing is SMS phishing. Links with short domains, delivery scam, COVID alerts, multi-factor authentication spoofing, fake sender names. For example, from your courier, for example, from FedEx, you can, or from your courier here, because you have a lot of companies in courier, you can, they can send you emails, not emails, SMS into your Viber or into your phone that for something confirm now, put this link in order to see your order and all that stuff. That's why I told you before that you maybe upload a video of unboxing something, and someone can show this video, and then it can send you an email and say that I'm FedEx, please press this link to see if your order is okay or something like that. Pretexting, of course, is a trick that a victim uses fake identity or scenario. Let's see 3 of the scenarios: pretending to be police requesting internal documents, calling us as HR to confirm employees' IDs, faking vendor or legal department communication, and here is some defenses to those cases. Those cases are more real life cases, something computer life cases. The defense could be verification through independent channel, security scripts for the help desk teams, and employee awareness programs, just like the program that now. Okay. Of course, you have impersonation and delegating. There are some techniques, of course, you know them. It is wearing fake security uniforms, carrying fake badges, following authorized employees through doors. This is very good if you want to scam or to penetrate into a system through antennas. Imagine a port that has an IoT system, and you want to penetrate into the port through the IoT systems that the port have. The IoT system may be some sensors for sending the SIMs and all that stuff. You can go as a visitor, as a tourist, with a laptop and antennas into the port, catch the signal that you want, and try penetrate into the system. So sometimes if you want to go into a place and do something, you have to cover yourself. Okay, that's why those are important. And here is some real world case studies. 2023, 2022 with Uber, 2021, 2020 or with Twitter and phishing of support agents. 2019 CEO voice scam. If you heard about the fake wire transfer, it was very known. It was very famous those days. Bank fraud, 100 million stolen from Facebook and Google, and serial bank, and a lot of cases the last year. Not the last 10 years or more. Here is some tools that you can use, except from the NERO tools platform, of course. In NERO platform, we have a combination of tools that you can handle almost everything in cybersecurity. Here you have some phishing. Evil Engine 2 is very coffees are very popular. From OSID, Maltego, and Reconergy are also very popular, especially for Maltego is for Windows. USB is the Flipper Zero and Rabbit Flipper Zero, I think, is forbidden the last 3 years, something like that. You cannot find it easily because it can copy RF signals and it can open every RF signal that you want. Payload generation, MSF Venom, very known, and obfuscation tools. Obfuscation is not like cryptography, it's something different. We change the payload in order to be different, okay, and pass through the firewalls, but it's not a cryptography tool. Email security, of course, and some endpoint security rules or tools, just like Sysmon. With Sysmon is a Windows tool. You can have it on Windows, and it's very popular. So now concerning the detection and mitigation and the awareness, and then you can go to the NERO tools, have email protection, endpoint monitoring, policy enforcement, user training, and security drills. Those are the 5 most common detection and mitigation awareness techniques. Okay. Some reference link concerning those today. Thank you, and this is my mail. If you have any questions further, or if you have any questions tomorrow, you can send an email. And now let's move on to I'll stop sharing and let's move on to the NERO programs to give you a very small sample of what we do in the project. Give me a second to share my screen. Okay. So here there are 2 tools of many of tools that we have into our program. This is by Mortimas. This is a tool by Wissam is the host today, and his company has a great tool about phishing. It's a great tool because you can train yourself in the same time, and then you can also see a lot of cases of phishing emails. Let's start and give you a small demo. For example, let's go to the first email. This is an email, and we have to choose. Oh no, we already did that. Let's go to another one. Let's go to this. Attention, bank, etc., etc. So in this program, you can choose an email, and you have to decide if it is phishing or not. Okay. We can see there are forms that they ask for our details. This is not possible. Okay, this is not possible for someone to just a bank ask you in this way, in this form, in this phone. See, this is totally a phishing. But let's see. We press the phishing, and then you have to choose why it is phishing. I can choose randomly some stuff to give you the results and see how this is working. Let's try. Let's put this. Let's this. Let's go to the body. The majority global, the global space, just the line message, etc. Let's submit it. Okay, we submitted. A minute. And as you can see, we did very well. The time that we have. It was also a phishing mail, so we're right. We take the points. We answered that the problem was the subject, the sender information, and the body. So we're okay with that. We're right. And of course, we have an issue and on receiver's information, but we didn't have much time, so I don't have the time to press it. Sender name is weird. We're totally right about that. The global display is not professional, of course. You can see that the display was into a very strange font. Urgency deadline message, of course, please complete the form in order to send us something like that. I press a wrong button in order to see how is to have an incorrect answer. This email was very obvious. You can see the result of issues in this email. And with this program, you can go to next or to the dashboard or to cancel it. Let's go back to the dashboard. Okay, this is the first program, and the second program is from Sphinx. You can do a train of yourself. As you can see, there is a cyber range. Here is the dashboard. Have the cyber range. Have training programs, my programs, and there is a program concerning phishing awareness. Sorry, and password protection demo. As you can see, we have the password protection. I think Haralabos talk about this a little bit. And there is some questions you can do, of course, the course, or you can do the training, and then you can do test scenario. There is videos there if you want to follow. Let's go next. And they say just type a password. The and 1, 2, 3, 3. Okay, time to crack your password. I just put a password, a random password, and they say time to crack your password is 2 hours because I just put 1, 2, 3 and some symbols and nothing like that. But if I put a normal password that I use, you see 39 hours. If you put a totally random password or totally generated, it's very strong. And then you can have how secure is your password, and you have some questions to answer. For example, pick the strongest password. In this case, the strongest password is by far this looks like Hamilton. This looks like my secret. This looks like password. So this is the random one. This is the right answer. And let's do that, and I will finish it. Write passwords in sticky notes. Of course, don't do that. Change passwords rarely. Don't do that. Use different password for every site, of course. Use a password manager, of course. Share password with your friends, of course. Don't do that. Okay, so let's pause the scenario. And let me stop sharing. And please feel free to ask any questions or to write any questions into this module on the bottom of your screen.
Thank you a lot, Dimitris. Let's check if there is questions for your presentation. I don't see any until now, but let's wait a little bit. Maybe people are typing.
Yes.
So we know that this phishing attack is one of the main channels that are used by attackers to somehow push you to click or download the malware. And this is something that happened also in several sectors. I know in France, for example, the e-health sector during COVID had a lot of issues with ransomware that was deployed using phishing email. But for SMEs, it can be really something very impactful in terms of not only finance, but also they can even go bankrupt. So some SMEs really had big issues when they have been hacked. Okay, I don't see any question. I think that people are thanking you for this clear and concise training, and everything was clear for everyone. So let me share my screen to ask everyone before going to first of all remind them that this is a first webinar in a series of three. So the next one will be on the 3rd of December, so next Wednesday, in fact, at the same hour. So if you are interested to go deeper in cybersecurity, there will be also three trainings in this next webinar. And of course, we'll have a third one in January. And I will ask you also to answer the post questionnaire before you leave. This is something very important for us as a project, but also based on that, you will have your coordinate so that we can send you an attendance certificate. So do not hesitate to fill this questionnaire. The link is also sent in the chat by my colleague. And thank you again. So these are some links to our project on some social media. And you can also access to the marketplace using the main URL of the website, where you can find different tools and trainings that can be for your sake. And thank you again for joining, and I will give more time to answer the post question. And do not hesitate also to send any question in the Q&A. We'll be happy to answer either now or offline.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all. I will thank again our three speakers, Haralambos, Davide, and Dimitris. I thank all people who attend this training, and see you next Wednesday for the second webinar of NERO. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.